From the EPAWA headquarters in South Allentown, Pennsylvania, it's time for Weather Wise, an informative video of the ins and outs of weather that affect you most in the EPAWA coverage area. The following segment is a weekly video blog, and the opinions of the forecaster do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the staff of Eastern PA Weather Authority, LLC as a whole, nor its constituents. Without further ado, here is meteorologist Bobby Martrich with Weather Wise.
And good Sunday morning to you, everybody. This is a look at the upcoming week and the long-range pattern for the next month, I should say. This is a weekly segment that we do. We debuted last week, and this is going to go on every Sunday morning until probably through the entire winter. Give us a look at some long-range stuff and some recaps with an opinion thrown in there of this is definitely an opinion blog, my personal opinion, so do not reflect the opinions of the staff as a whole. I'm going to start off today with this look at this weekend here. We have this deep trough here in the northeastern United States here, big ridge out here in the central in the plains here. And this is the reason why we're so chilly and so windy today. We have low pressure, of course, off the coastline here and creating a tight pressure gradient here. This is looking like it's going to be a back and forth pattern up and down for the next month here. This is November is one of those times of the year where we start getting into a little bit more of these cold shots here. And although you're not going to be like just stuck in the cold here for days and days on end, and this could be a telling sign for the winter here. We'll get into that here during this segment here, but this is the reason why we're so chilly here. These are anomalies, and above normal would be indicated in the orange and red colors here, and in the deep trough here in the east here is indicated by the blues and the greens. So that's why you have the chilly temperatures. Now, I want to take a look at the snowfall here in northern New England here. This system here was speculated this entire week that we would have some snow in our area here. And if we look back and look at the models and how they looked about 8-9 days ago, there was actually showing accumulating snow over our area, which did not occur. But it did occur in eastern Maine here, places like Caribou and Portland. That's as that system moved further east, and these systems did not link up. There was one diving down from the south from the Great Lakes region and ended up over the Carolinas. Another one out ahead of it that moved ahead into New England here, and they did not link up. So this is a look at what the model projection was for yesterday. If you go back to 8-9 days ago, it was looking like this. Now, this doesn't look too bad. Actually, as far as where the snowfall said it was going to be, of course, it missed all of this here. But as far as our area is concerned, it pretty much had it nailed as far as what amounts of snowfall we would get. I know there's some fluctuations in that with the GFS especially, where it was going back and forth showing accumulating snow getting all the way down all the way down into this area here. Now, we did have some flakes last night, and those of you that were up last night at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, and then 1 o'clock again, since we changed the times back like I was, there were some snow flurries that were coming across or mixed in with the very light rain showers that were occurring last night around that time frame. So that's about all you got. So the model, although it looks like it nailed it here, the evolution was completely off. It actually had one main system coming through the upper Great Lakes region coming across this way, which of course did not happen. This actually came down here and was trailing another second system that was already out here. So just because a model says something 8-9 days away, it's something we need to look at, but we don't put much stock until we get a little bit closer. There's a reason for that, and this is a perfect example. This is showing something completely different in terms of evolution of this system than what actually occurred. So even though sometimes it might get it right and say, okay, well, it got the snow areas right. Well, if it's not evolving this correctly, it's not going to have the snow areas correctly. And if you actually took this out a little bit further, this actually continued off here like this. So those big snows that occurred here in eastern Maine would have not have occurred in this setup here. So just be careful what you look at long range, because it's not always going to be on top of things. And if we taking a look at our long range here, I will tell you right now that I don't know if this is going to be correct in our long range here. We actually, when we did our autumn 2014 outlook, we expected temperatures in November to be well above average. We're using primarily a 1979 analog, and it just did not look like it was going to occur below normal temperatures in November. But now some of the long-range guidance is suggesting that we might have more of this up and down, up and down. It might not be quite as warm or above average, or might not be above average at all, like we saw in October. October was actually above normal for about 3 to 4 degrees above normal across our coverage area here, and that as opposed to mild. Or I suppose as opposed to cold like we thought it was going to be. So, this is really throwing some monkey wrenches in here with these recurving typhoons, and that's a big part of that. But, now we're getting into a different pattern here where we're seeing the stratosphere warm here and over the Eurasian, over Eurasia, where we have a amplitude of snow cover right now, and also that would promote some blocking from the Arctic Circle and a negative AO as we get into winter. This is going to be something that we're going to have to keep an eye on, because if you have blocking over the top, it allows the cold air to come down further south. I think the pattern over the next month here is going to be more transient. We're going to have back and forth. Like, here's a look at Tuesday here. You get a little trough sitting up here like this, but over in our coverage area here, we have warmth that's going to be occurring. So this is a look at Tuesday, but then a couple days later, here comes that trough, and it settles over the northeast, and we get into the cold shots here. So I think it's going to be back and forth here for a while. You're not going to get any sustained pattern of warmth or above normal temperatures. At the same time, you're not going to have a sustained pattern of below normal temperatures. I think these are going to be in and out. Pattern is still pretty progressive, even though you have these little dips here in the jet stream that will allow for the cold, or cold displaced for the west, which allows a ridge here. And I think it's going to continue through the month of November, at least for the first half. So we did this through mid-November only, just because there's a lot of questions on how this pattern evolves over the next month or so, especially with that stratospheric warming. Whenever you have stratospheric warming, it actually drives what happens at the surface, and it has a lag time of a couple weeks. So, we're seeing that warming right now over the Eurasia region, where all that snow cover is occurring. So the stratosphere is warming in those areas, which will promote, again, the blocking over the polar regions. And we'll have to see how that responds as far as snow cover is concerned in our area, because right now, this is the current snow cover that we're looking at as of today. So you can see the area we're looking at especially is here and then up into northwest Canada. And you can see over the next model projections over the next 10 days is to increase this snow cover here, which is also a good sign for winter. So if you're looking for reasons to say, winter might not be that great this year, you're really running out of things to really point at to say, to make your case on that. I know that there are some social media sites especially that were putting out these forecasts up here for the Northeast United States for the winter, and just in August already, and we're putting out this epic cold and winter. I really think that was way too early, but it's kind of like if you have a coin and you're flipping a coin, and you have to decide for cold or warm winter, and you flip the coin, it lands on heads. You're picking one. It's a 50-50 chance you're going to be right. So the science involved behind that to make those distinctions here back in August were not correct. But, in order to do it that early, but, might end up being correct after all, because, again, you have a 50-50 shot of being right or wrong. So, I don't think it's going to be epic, but, we'll get into that in a second here. Here's the sea surface temperatures, and this is the progression over the last couple of weeks. Now, we showed this in the last video here. This area up here is what we're looking for mostly for our sea surface temperatures. And if these are warm, it's going to promote ridging out here in Alaska in the winter and give us a negative EPO like we had last year. Negative EPO is what drove our winter and gave us all that snow, even though it wasn't expected to be in advance, wasn't expected to be anything other than normal or slightly above last year, and wound up being over 200% of normal in some cases. What we're seeing now, here's what it looks like now. And this was last week here, and this is now. You can see some of these reds are disappearing here. We're still above normal here, but is actually decreasing a little bit. And that's because, in large part, because of that Pacific jet roaring through here that's going to, allow for these temperatures here to cool a little bit, but it hasn't really cooled that much from here to here. So in a week's time, you don't expect much change anyway, but you are seeing definitely not quite as warm up here now as it was. And why is that important? And this is what we used in the last video as well. Here's the warm. If you have warm temperatures up here in the Gulf of Alaska and Northern Pacific, that will actually force a jet stream predominantly to be shoot up above that over Alaska, and therefore you have a ridge sitting over Alaska. And of course, this is all theoretical. This is not constant. When you have a ridge out here, it promotes a trough in the east, and then the cold air is allowed to come down here But it's not going to be a constant thing. And then you have to, one of the big things you look for out here is a big ridge out here because of that. So you have a positive PNA sitting out here on the west coast, and that will allow for this blocking over the top. When we talk about blocking over top, that's going to be sitting up here in the Arctic Circle. You can have this cold air just bleed down here. So we're seeing signs of that we're going to have that happen this winter, but I don't think it's going to be like last winter in terms of these 6 week. I think we had a 6-week stretch there where it was just well below normal for a very long time, and that was last January into early February, where we had these polar vortexes just dominating the pattern. I don't think you're going to be dealing with that this year. I think you're going to be more the transient, but of course you're going to be colder. It's going to be relative to the time frame that we're in. So if you're talking about transient shots in January, you can get some cold shots of a couple, 2, 3, 4 days of cold, and then it moderates. And it goes back down, and then it moderates again. So, this constant battle of the jet stream of where this sets up is going to determine how this winter is going to go. So I don't think you're talking about, long, prolonged periods of cold this winter. But, one thing, of course, we're going to block. I think the blocking is going to be better up here over Greenland, especially, which will allow for negative NAO. So it's one of those that's looking more and more like you're going to have less frequency of storms, but bigger storms when they do hit. Of course, we have our winter outlook coming out. I'll get into that a little bit, but it's one of the things we're definitely keying on and watching for before making that outlook. And you see where we're kind of going with this here. But this is what warm SSTs in the Gulf of Alaska, Northern Pacific can lead to. Also a negative EPO, which will drive a trough in the east and can make us cold predominantly for the winter. If the Pacific jet is too fast, again, we talked about this last week too. Pacific jet is too fast, you have a zonal flow, which is basically a west to east flow. If you have a west east flow like this, your cold air is stuck up over Canada, is not allowed to dive south because of that Pacific jet being too fast. And of course, your mild air is all down here south of this jet stream. So, if it's a straight west east Pacific jet, because of it being too fast, it's not allowed to amplify. When I mean amplify, you need it to do this number here, start big ridges and troughs. And where that ridge and trough is, of course, a trough will bring in the cold air. The ridges will bring in, wherever the ridge, you're going to have a warm side of it. So you need an amplification in order to get these bigger storms and the cold air to dive down. And one thing we were concerned about was the quasi-biennial oscillation. This is the QBO. And what this is it's basically your wind that's sitting up over the tropical Pacific, and of course it alternates between west and east every 13 months. Now, right now, we were concerned because the QBO was below -20. This is on a scale of generally plus or minus 30. I'm going to use this graphic here posted by Dave Tolaris, DT at Weather Risk, because this is a very good graphic, and this is what we're looking at going forward into the month of November. We were saying that it was sitting at about -23, -23.64, I believe it was the value. Anything over below -20 or above +20 goes on plus or minus 30 scale here. Anything below -20 or above +20 is not good as far as the Pacific jet. It will actually speed up the Pacific jet, and you get more of a chance at this zonal flow here, which is, where'd I go? You get back to this here. You get more of the chance of the zonal flow because the Pacific jet is just too fast. But if this is allowed to slow down, we have that amplification, and we're seeing signs of that. This is the estimated readings by DT anyway. It's sitting here about -17, which would be good. That would be good. You're showing a rising QBO from -23 to -17, which is pretty significant from October to November. And what that does is it just tells me that the Pacific jet will have less influence. It won't be as zonal like shown in that previous graph, and we have a chance to have more amplification in the winter, which is what you would want is if you wanted to snow. So this is something we're going to be watching. Of course, this comes out around the 2nd or 3rd of November. So when this comes out, it actually didn't come out yet today, so about the 3rd or 4th, I should say, of November, we'll get these actual numbers here, the actual values of what the QBO is. And if it did in fact rise to around 917, it would be a significant thing as far as what our forecast is for this upcoming winter. Of course, that forecast is the EPAWA 2014-2015 Winter Outlook, which is due out Monday, November 10th. at 7 p.m. So we'll release that publicly Monday, November 10th at 7 p.m. Our My Pocket Meteorologist Premium clients, which is the the model analysis group, and then we have a private Facebook group where we kind of talk up to 8 days ahead of any approaching storm this winter. And we go over in detail model of what every model is showing every single day, and what we're siding with, and so it kind of gives you an idea of how our thought process evolves during this any event that's coming this winter. We did this last year, was very successful. We're doing it again this year. But those My Pocket Meteorologist Premium clients will receive this information of the winter outlook on November 7th. So we're giving that information out 3 days early to those clients. What you need to do is just click on the My Pocket Meteorologist link. It's actually sitting right below this video here, and take advantage of that program. Take a look at the different programs we have on there, because we have a very successful text and email alert program which will give you specific amounts of snow, ice, rain, thunderstorms, anything like that, timing for your specific county you live in. So you can do that for the county you live in, or you can even do it for select up to 2 counties and do it for the place you commute to. So if you live in Allentown and you commute up toward the Scranton area every year, this would be something for you to get both counties, so you have an idea of what to expect for Lehigh, what to expect for, say, Luzerne County, or what is that up there, Lackawanna County, I'm sorry. So you can get both of those counties for where you work, where you live, and you get an idea of what is expected for each location. And that's going to be very detailed information that's going to be given 5 to 7 days in advance of any approaching storm that we're watching, and then every 24 hours after that. So we will update you constantly, and it'll come right to your phone, right to your email, however you choose. And it's just we now offer the seasonal packages for one flat rate for the entire winter. So please do check that out. And of course, the premium part is the $20 for the entire winter to be part of this private group. You can get on that as well. So in the meantime, just expect that outlook November 10th. We're going to have another video here on the 9th, the day before, which will give a little bit more insight to the winter here and where we're headed, because of course for the private clients, we'll be releasing the 7th. We already know where we're going with the winter outlook, so do check for that. Again, Monday, November 7th at 7 p.m. is when that will be released. I'm Eastern PA Weather Authority meteorologist Bobby Martrich, and that is this edition of WeatherWise for November 2nd, 2014.